welcome everyone to the latest installment of TCU Presents. We're here on the beautiful campus of Texas Christian University, and we're here today to talk with two of TCU's most visionary leaders, Chancellor Victor Boschini and President Daniel Pullin. Gentlemen, this is going to be a lot of fun here. And TCU's success, it's not an accident. You do not get to this point in time without leadership. I definitely can tell you that here. It's the culmination of decades of leadership with decisions that have made TCU a thriving national top 100 university here. They share a vision for this gorgeous campus in Fort Worth that is home to the country's happiest college students. We're going to look forward to TCU's bright future, and we're going to consider the strategies that will help lead TCU to being even bigger and better. I am your moderator, Newy Scruggs, and some of you may know me from my time on television and radio as a sportscaster here in Dallas-Fort Worth. But I can tell you this, I am now a proud Horned Frog alum.
Yes. There you go.
I recently graduated with an executive MBA from the TCU Newy School of Business, and this gentleman, Daniel Pullin, was the dean of the business school at the time, and he taught my innovation class. And I cannot tell you how much confidence that I got from having that executive MBA. And I tell a lot of people who ask me about it, I should have done it 10 years earlier. It's just a tremendous education. It's just everything that I got from it. Everyone around this country is now familiar with the name TCU, being the only school from Texas and in the Big 12 to win a college football playoff game. And we were all three of us were there at that Fiesta Bowl in Glendale, Arizona. I just flew in from Arizona last night, and I still have the memory of what it was like to watch TCU go beat Michigan, who was ranked number 2 at the time, and people thought, oh, what's TCU doing there? It's going to be Michigan. And I remember when the Michigan football players didn't know what conference they were in, but after the confetti fell, everyone knew who TCU was and that they were in the Big 12. And athletics is obviously a front porch to a university, but we all know once you get here on this campus and everything in the house at this university is simply sensational, spectacular as well. But athletics is a great front door for this university. Now, Addison and Randolph Clark launched TCU 150 years ago as an innovative experiment on the Texas frontier. Did you know that TCU is the longest continually operating co-educational institution west of the Mississippi? The Clarks valued scholarship, character, and inclusion, values that will always be fundamental to the Horned Frogs experience. In the 21st century, students come here to forge connections with world-class faculty, and the TCU professors here invest in students that make an impact. I'm an example of that. TCU averages 13 students per one faculty member, and the small classrooms mean individual attention. It also means that students can work side by side with faculty members and the endeavors that help shape their future and help them improve the world. And when you talk about that, I remember going to your office. You invited me. You said, Newy, come by. I know you were busy at the time. You were running the business school as the dean, and you gave me at least 45 minutes of your time. And that is the experience that you get. Every professor that I went and talked to made time for me here.
Agree.
Zoom calls, people, what can we do to help you? No professor ever turned me down when I asked them for time here. And that is a part of the experience I can tell you from myself. TCU's small size, its dream big spirit, and its connection to the culture make it a one-of-a-kind experience, and it's special. And today we're going to explore more on how leaders are shaping this for tomorrow. The Princeton Review recently ranked TCU number 4 in the nation for best run colleges, and my two guests today deserve a round of applause for making this happen. Dr. Victor J. Boschini, Daniel Pullin, the president of the university. So you are, Chancellor Boschini, the 10th chancellor here at the university, and you arrived in Fort Worth in 2003.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Now, when you got here, the center of the West Campus was an asphalt parking lot, okay? And a lot has been happening under your tenure here, and as I read this, it's an impressive list. A physical transformation of TCU's 302 acres, fundraising that's built the university's endowment to $2.6 billion, B as in big, big. That's a sensational number here, an expansion and diversification of the student body, a rise in admission of the students here, and too much to name. Jeremiah Donati, our outstanding athletic director, recently told TCU Magazine, Victor is, quote, the most influential person in the trajectory of TCU today, end quote. He's not exaggerating.
That's not true, but
he's not exaggerating.
Yeah.
You're a native of Cleveland, Ohio, a place that I have found,
Yes,
and you've got a doctorate in higher education administration, and you were previously the president of Illinois State University. Officially welcome, my friend.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Well, it is outstanding to get the two big bosses here. And of course, President Pullin, and I had to get past the dean because that's how I first knew you as Dean Pullin and everything that you did here. And you were named the president a year ago. I'm so proud, so happy for you, and feel just so lucky to have been one of your students here. You came to us from the University of Oklahoma, and you were the dean of the Price College School of Business. You were also OU's vice president. And your resume is impressive as well, a law degree and a Harvard MBA. You first joined TCU as the John V. Roach Dean of the Neely School of Business, and under your leadership, Neely's business educational programs have been some of the best in the country here. The Economist ranked Neely as having the second best faculty in the world. That's impressive. And the excellence that you have brought in business education here, you're now going to bring it to everyone else. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen you at campus walking around with cookies and engaging students here. So welcome to you as well.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, let's get started with these questions here. Let's start by discussing the famous TCU connection, the culture. You like to call it the secret sauce, Dr. Boschini.
I think it's just an example of everything you just said about him. It's the connection everybody has at every level here. The groundskeepers, the people who clean the residence halls know the kids in the halls, the faculty members, as you said, will spend time. I've never been turned down, but I agree with you, by any faculty member who I asked to go that extra mile. And I think students see that and they respond to that.
Daniel Pullin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's not just an opportunity, but I think it's an expectation, right? At TCU, it's unlike any institution of higher education or really any organization. I mean, just consistently, everybody at TCU is for you. There's a lack of pettiness, a lack of jealousy. It's like if somebody's successful, you want to run up to them and say, how did you do it? Teach me more. You know, how can I aspire to the same level that you just achieved? And that's a product of having a growth mindset. I mean, I think the people who are drawn to TCU, who stay at TCU, who flourish at TCU, certainly students, but also faculty and staff, really want to continue to make this great place even greater. But they know that the only way to do that is by investing in each other. So whether it's seeing the chancellor walk across campus, whether it's picking up that piece of trash you see 10 yards up and making sure it goes in the right bin to keep the beauty of our campus what the expectation is. Everybody invests in each other, and everybody's for you.
Okay, so now I'm going to get greedy here and personal, because this is what he had spoke to us about in our innovation class, was a growth mindset. Explain more of that.
Yeah, so I think there are two big buckets of mindsets. One is a fixed mindset, the other is a growth mindset. A fixed mindset typically is a philosophy or is embodied in someone that believes that talent or skills are immutable. It's more of a nature approach. You were a born salesperson, or I'm not good with computers, or either it is or it isn't. Versus individuals with a growth mindset tend to value hard work, perseverance, believe that they can learn anything, know they can't do it by themselves, see failure as not the end point, but as an opportunity to grow and learn so that you're better the next time. And I think if you take that approach and you map it on top of, this institution of higher education, it has everything to do with our success. And under the Chancellor's leadership, I challenge you to find another university that has come as far and as fast in the last 2 decades as Texas Christian University. Period.
Let me follow this up with you, President Pullin. How do leaders shape culture? You just spoke about what Dr. Boschini has done here, Chancellor Boschini has done here. So follow that up.
Yeah, culture. I mean, it's the foundation for everything, right? And you know it when you see it. I'll give you a specific example. The Chancellor still teaches. They let the President still teach. All right, most institutions say, oh, well, there's an opportunity cost, and we need to be out fundraising or passing resolutions or whatever chancellors and presidents do these days.
Yeah.
But no, I think it is not only is it a wonderful opportunity for us to remind ourselves every day why we got into this industry to begin with, but it sets the tone that no matter how big TCU gets or what the latest initiative of the day becomes, right, the student will always be at the center of our university, and we're putting our time to punctuate that point. I think that goes a long way to establishing the culture. You mentioned accessibility. I don't think I've ever told a student no who's asked for a meeting. And it could be on a topic of consequence, or maybe it's a small thing, but it's a big thing in the mind of that student. And so why wouldn't we open the door wide open to having those intellectual exchanges, to develop intergenerational relationships that in some small way might be that added boost that gets a student over the line or reaching higher or on the pathway to being the citizens we need them to be upon graduation.
One thing I noticed is when you walk around this campus, the kids make you feel young. You walk places and you interact with them, and I feel 10 years younger here because they're just so innovative and they're just thinking different. Is that your experience? Because I know, when I come out here and I'm working, I see the both of you at games all the time.
Oh yeah, I think that's definitely one of the best things about working in higher ed. I mean, I never worked in a I did work in a factory, but not as the head of it. But I never worked at another setting, so it's really hard for me to compare. But I can't imagine anywhere to be as exciting to work as a college. Basically, your office is in a park. You're surrounded by all these young people with great ideas, crazy ideas, fun ideas. You have culture, sports. I couldn't think of a better place.
Happiness is wonderful, but students here also earn world-class education. President Pullin, students and families choose TCU. Ultimately, they want to get an education that prepares them for the future, specifically a future where they can contribute and walk through their work and focus on the greater good. Tell us why you think TCU's environment prepares students for careers and beyond.
Yeah, it's another remarkable dimension of what we do and why we do it. We don't think of our day-to-day work as being an institution that trades credit hours and diplomas for tuition and fees to produce college graduates, right? Operationally that happens, but we think of our opportunity is to prepare leaders and to get them career ready, not just for their first job, right? You look at our placement rates. You got to be really special not to get a job out of TCU, like work really, really hard not to. But it's not about getting them the first job. It's about preparing them with the life skills and the experiences and the network and the confidence to get their last job. Because if you think about your last job, that's the position where more likely than not, you're going to have the widest aperture of influence. Maybe you're responsible for, X number of jobs and Y number of families that are supported and the families that are able to, strengthen and allow a community to flourish. You're in the position of maybe, if you're in a business, selecting the products and services that can benefit humanity and avoiding the ones that don't. All right, so if we can prepare our students with the right mindset, the skill set, the career agility to reinvent themselves as the world around them changes, then they're going to be well on their way to that last job. We'll have as many TCU degrees and as many corner offices all over the world carrying the banner, representing this institution, but ultimately proving what a well-educated citizen can mean to a society in a scaled way beyond themselves.
When you say last job, the word that comes to my mind is impact.
Yeah.
That's where you have that impact, where you've taken so much of what you've developed in your whys, and you now have a better understanding of what you're doing. And we talk about that being able to impact other people. That's how you really leave a legacy.
I think so, and that impact, doesn't matter how smart you are, it doesn't even matter how many hours you put in, even those two things are correlated. It's how good you are at enabling others to make their highest contribution, right? How do you facilitate the goodness that's inside of them, their smarts, their work ethic, their talent, and allowing them to make the biggest footprint? And I think that's what the best leaders are able to do, is to unlock the human potential of their teams.
Chancellor Boschini, let's chat about retention here and explore the great strides TCU has made in keeping students here after they arrive. Retention is not just having people get here, but it's having people thrive and get to the finish line and be able to shake your hand and receive that TCU degree. Great effort went into the university achieving a 94.3% student retention rate. That speaks volumes of how we're fulfilling today's students to give them the TCU experience. How are teachers, in your mind, creating this culture thriving that's in and out of the classroom?
Well, I think it's something the president said earlier. The mindset here is not when you come like, oh, look to your left, look to your right, one of you won't be here when you graduate. The mindset here is, hey, let's try to make sure all of you succeed here. And so all the professors, every professor you have, they're going to give the 120% to make sure you have a good experience in that class and that you get the skills needed to progress.
The retention, I think, I'm going to say the number again, 94.3.
Right. That's incredible.
Yes.
And that puts us in a league of schools that's really at the top of the 3,500. But that shows a lot of work from people both inside and outside the classroom. Like, we have an incredible student affairs staff here that do things for students I've never seen at any other school. And that complemented with what the professors do in class, it's unbeatable. Academics,
this is a question for both of you. TCU attracts faculty that want to work closely with and get to know their undergraduate students while also participating with pioneering research. How does this differentiate TCU from other colleges and universities?
So one of the things that we hold dear is our commitment to a teacher-scholar model, where we believe that world-class education is the product of not only outstanding attention to teaching, it is, but also positioning our faculty to be generating insights in their field of expertise that not only is shaping the future practice of their discipline, but enables them to bring those insights directly into the classroom so that our students are being educated in a cutting-edge way. They have access to those insights such that they're relevant in the marketplace, and that upon graduation they can deploy those insights, and I'll contend, improve upon them as they build their careers in the context of life. So we invest in world-class faculty, we invest in thought leadership, but that is not in any way separated from what happens in the classroom. In fact, if you bring in that thought leadership, you create an educational experience that you can only get it at TCU. And that's why students are coming, and that's why they're staying at 94+%, and that's why they're graduating at record levels as well.
See
what he said. Because you realize my job is now, like you said, the two big bosses. There really aren't two big bosses. There's one big boss, him. And he's in charge now. And so I think my job is to help him when I can and to get out of his way and to fundraise.
I'm going to veer off a little bit here. So I covered the World Series last year with the Texas Rangers. And I'm going to tell you right now, you two remind me of their leadership. When I asked owner Ray Davis, okay, Ray, how's it feel to win the World Series? He's like, well, we got a great general manager in Chris Young, and we got a great manager in Bruce Bochy. So then I go to the general manager, Chris Young. You've won the World Series, give me your thoughts. He's like, I got a great owner in Ray Davis. I got a great manager. Then he talked to Bruce Bochy, the manager. Hey, you won. I got a great owner, Ray Davis, gave me all the resources. I got a fantastic general manager. And I bring to where you two remind me of, it's not about me, it's about us. It's about making sure we get this thing done together. And I'm seeing that between you two. And what I saw with the World Series, I'm seeing right here operating at Texas Christian University in your leadership.
Well, I mean, how lucky am I, right? I get to run alongside, a legend who has 20 years of institutional context, who can demystify any challenge because he's seen it before, save me from myself, right? Because I'm running fast, you know that. And in a risk-adjusted way, it really allow not only the day-to-day operations of the university to continue, but really position us to continue to climb. And TCU is going to soar. Get ready.
Your thoughts on just what he said about you?
Well, something you just said is wrong. It is all about me, but that's another whole interview. So don't ever mistake that.
That's TCU Presents Part 2,
Yeah.
okay.
Don't ever forget that, Mr. Newy Scruggs. But no, I'm joking. What I say is you're right. It's because if you don't want credit for something, it makes everybody soar even higher, in my opinion. And he's just like that. He doesn't need to be the center of the spotlight, even though when he is in the center of the spotlight, because he has to be because of his job. And I think that's a big part of what a good leader is. And people saw that immediately when he started as the dean. I think people here 3 years ago thought he should be the president. I did.
Let's chat about another love that you both have, TCU athletics. And from the Rose Bowl, Chancellor Boschini, the Fiesta Bowl, the soccer, the Sweet 16, the College World Series, TCU athletics has become a nationally prominent brand. And that leap that TCU made from the Southwest Conference to the Mountain West, Southwest Conference, it was the WAC,
Yeah,
the Western
WAC.
Athletic Conference, then Conference USA,
Yeah.
then the Mountain West, 6 weeks in the Big East.
That was fun. Yeah. I got to go to one meeting and pay $5 million.
In Providence, Rhode Island. Yes, a $5
That's the most
million.
expensive meeting I've ever gone to.
And now in the Big 12 here, that's a short time when you think about it, because 96 when the Southwest Conference broke up, and so many people who are TCU alums felt like they were wandering the desert, and then to finally get in the Big 12, and then of course the Fiesta Bowl, where TCU becomes the first and still the only Texas school to win a college football playoff game. Take me through that experience.
Oh, it was just phenomenal. And we were lucky because we got to do it together this past year. And that was even more fun because you have someone to talk to about it. And this is going to sound weird, but nobody knows how you feel until you're in these jobs. And to have someone else who has that exact same thing, it's really a kind of a comfort too. But yeah, athletics has been an incredible way to introduce people to the brand that is Texas Christian University. It's also hard too, because you want to make sure you're always performing at the highest level, but with the highest character and the highest ethics. And there's a lot of moving parts in athletics. And we're not the athletic director. You have to depend on having a good athletic director to do a lot of this. And we're lucky that we do.
So a consistent thing that I've heard from my time, the athletic directors who, when I first came here in 2000, Eric Hyman, Danny Morrison, and Christel Conti, and now Jeremiah Donati, is they speak about you can't do this unless you have someone like Victor Boschini who's behind you. And when TCU did not initially make it in the Big 12, when the Southwest Conference broke up, there were a lot of people that said the facilities aren't there, they don't care about sports. You've been a part of helping put in the infrastructure to change the facilities, because I can tell you, I was covering TCU athletics, so I was working in Austin back in '94. It's not the same. You come here, it's a different campus. I was talking to Eddie George one day, who worked for Fox Sports. He couldn't believe the football stadium when he went here. Can you speak to your involvement to help raise the money and get the athletic facilities to the next level?
Well, I think you're right. Facilities are important because I think a lot of student athletes and a lot of students in general, they purchase their college based on facilities nowadays. They pick the 5 schools they narrow it down to on the ones that are, if they want to be a chemistry major. But then when they look at those 5 who are all great in chemistry, they choose the one that has the nicest facilities, the best dorms, the coolest football stadium, the nicest atmosphere. And so you might not like this, whoever you are, I know you're not, but it's important. And so we need to have top quality facilities. It also helps us attract better faculty and staff, because people want to work, like this hall you're sitting in right now. This is a huge attraction for faculty, staff, and students because it's a world-class facility for performance. And we're talking a lot about sports, but there's tons of other aspects of TCU, and one of the biggest ones is the performance, the cultural aspect.
President Pullin, TCU has taken an innovative approach to NIL, which stands for Name, Image, and Likeness. Tell us about this approach to educate and empower student athletes and students.
Yeah, well, we knew something was up. A couple years before the Supreme Court changed the law of the land to allow student athletes to profit off of their image, their name, their likeness, we got to work in a very TCU collaborative way. Sat down with the athletics director, and we looked and we said, hey, we've got a top athletics program. And if the law changes, we're going to have over 500 entrepreneurs overnight. Student athletes who can get into the business for themselves. And then we looked across campus at the Neely School and said, well, wait, we have a top 15 entrepreneurship program. Why can we not bring these two things together and educate our students, not just on how to cut the next deal of the day, but how do we prepare them for the rest of their career and lives? How do we create a curriculum that's relevant, that's durable, that will speak not just to the 4 years of deals they can get as a student athlete on campus, but the next 40 and 50 years of their careers. The time intensity of training and competing and recovering really makes it difficult for many student athletes to participate as a business major, which is one of our most rigorous, time-consuming course pathways on campus. And so in a way, it was an opportunity to do what TCU always does, which is to collaborate and leverage that connection culture by opening the business marketplace and business skill set to, in many cases, a whole category of students that have wouldn't otherwise have the ability to professionalize what they do after their playing days are over. And so it was just 1 + 1 = 5 kind of an equation. We were early. We went ahead and built it before the law changed, just in case. Back to innovation. You never know what's going to happen, but you might as well prepare for a variety of scenarios. So we really, day one, we hit the ground running with a full program, and now every student athlete has participated in it. And yes, they're doing well with their NIL deals, but what I'm really excited about is the return on investment in their careers and lives that we'll be seeing for decades to come.
Let's keep going on that because there are many universities and administrators who are trying to fight name, image, and likeness. And this is where I go back to what you spoke about in my time in your innovation class. This is a growth mindset now. You must have this in this area to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, you may not like it, but it is the market reality. Right. And so either you're going to get on the train, if you're going to get to the destination, you're going to stay right where you are or go backwards. And so in my mind, and I think it's good. I mean, what if we had a student that was not maybe her talent was not necessarily in athletics performance, but was a great writer or is a social media influencer who people wanted to know what she was thinking about or working on, and why could that student monetize their name, image, likeness, while the student who happens to have a distinctive talent in athletic performance couldn't it? So in my mind, it's kind of leveling the playing field. Now, we need, guardrails and, a level playing field so that institutions can continue to compete, to recruit, to retain, and propel student athletes. But, in many ways, at least philosophically, I'm excited for our student athletes and these 500 entrepreneurs that wouldn't have ever had their shot but for the law changing.
I had told Coach Sonny Dykes and one of the assistant TCU basketball coaches that every one of your players should take the negotiations class in the Neely School. I took it. It totally changed my mind. It's that I said you're going to be negotiating the rest of your life. Right. One of the most impactful classes that I ever had here. President Pullin, here, let's move over to campus planning. We heard about the state-of-the-art athletics human performance center that's going to open next year to give student athletes the edge that you guys both talked about, facilities giving an edge. There's also an East Campus living facility taking shape across from the Neely School right now. I remember I used to be able to park there, but I can't park over there now.
Sorry.
This is, you know, a university is growing when you see a crane in the air. And for my 20 plus years almost 25 years living in this area, there's always a crane over here at TCU, and there's something going on here. So President Pullin, TCU's footprint and continuing is just evolving more. What other infrastructure innovations are going to be coming to this campus here?
Yeah, well, we're real excited about this question. Actually, we've been working on it for well over a year through an inclusive campus-wide process where every Horned Frog, every student, faculty, staff, trustee, alumnus has had an opportunity to weigh in on what their vision for TCU's campus looks like. And we received over 8,000 responses to that call to action. We've been able to synthesize and prioritize that sentiment and have come up with a really dynamic plan that we're hoping to present for discussion and approval by the Board of Trustees at the spring meeting, so just in a couple of months. I think what you can see, and again, it's not approved, so I don't want to get out over my skis too much, but I do think you'll see as TCU continues to grow in a prudent, responsible way, I think you'll see additional amenities for students, certainly additional housing structures, dining facilities, but many amenities that speak to the quality of life outside of the classroom. We want the campus to be as sticky an environment as possible so that students really can go to one place, our campus, and live, learn, work, play, and really evolve into the citizens that they'll become. I also think that you will see an intense investment in the quality of our academic facilities, both the classrooms, additional classrooms, but also our laboratories and performance halls like the one we're in today. You know, TCU doesn't cut corners. Everything we do is first class, and I think that you'll see that borne out over the next 10 to 15 years as we expand the footprint of this place we call home.
A lot of it's possible because of TCU's financial strength, and that's where I'll come back over to you, Chancellor Boschini. The TCU future, it's up to everyone who's a part of the community here, but providing gifts that ensure TCU's place in the future for future generations and able to thrive. How can alumni continue to be a part of this community?
Oh gosh, that's a great question, and we want every alum to stay involved with TCU. I would say to everyone who picks TCU nowadays, you're making an 85-year decision because you're going to live that long. And so you better be all in on TCU for the next 80 plus years. That's our goal. And so, yeah, and they don't just have to help financially, which will take their financial help, but it's also spiritually, emotionally, volunteer to be on committees, join the Alumni Association, attend events, vote with your feet that TCU's important. All those things help.
Also, just buying a shirt, because I tell you, we all three of us fly a lot. The amount of comments that you get when you wear your TC purple, and it's just such a unique logo, the Horned Frog. People, you know what it is. If you see a tiger, then you're trying to figure out what school, but when you see the frog, you know exactly what it is.
I love that. I love that about it.
I just came back from Arizona, and so, hey, go Frogs.
Yeah.
And just, it's everywhere. So that's the ability there. So let's chat about the next 150 years, values and strategic planning. President Pullin, the higher education landscape, it's become more and more complex, and obviously now in your role as the president, you're finding this out even more. Yeah. How do you prepare a university where the future and the stakes, they're higher than ever? How do they vision the next 150 years, especially when we talk about success?
Yeah, so it's a really big question, and I think it starts with candid conversations about really what's the state of play today, and what would one envision it looking like in the future. And so we do that all the time on campus through shared governance with Faculty Senate and Student Governance Association and Graduate Student Senate and our staff assembly. We're always having those candid conversations, but recently I'm really proud of our Board of Trustees who really volunteered for a bonus meeting in their already packed schedule where we spent an entire day, and we called it a day of dialogue, not, approving minutes or, going over the budget or whatever, all the, fiduciary duties of a board. But actually talking with one another, being evidence-based, discussing and prioritizing the key issues that we think will shape TCU's competitiveness moving forward into that next 150 years. And we think that there are a few grand opportunities that both allow us to play offense and further differentiate our offering versus Brand X University, as well as putting kind of a moat around the institution such that we can feel as comfortable as possible with long-term sustainability. So certainly the campus master plan and what does that prudent growth look like? We have about 25,000 applications so far this year for only 2,400 first-year spots.
Wow.
We are leaving a tremendous amount of talent on the shelf. Amazing students, amazing families who want to be frogs, but we just don't have a place to put them right now. And I hate leaving talent on the shelf. I think about how many more amazing alumni wearing those shirts through airports and all over the world, really building the brand, and how many lives and families and communities can be positively impacted, if we can continue to, again, prudently, grow the opportunity for our impact. So that's one. Another topic, certainly athletics. It's very dynamic. It is in many ways an attractant to not just students, but anybody that circulates within the TCU community. And maintaining our growing influence in that area was a huge topic, and we have a lot of ideas on how to maintain that competitiveness and expand it. A focus on just the core academic quality of what we do, not just facilities, but the type of talent we're able to retain from a faculty perspective, how we support our students beyond the classroom, even to our research productivity and our faculty's ability to generate leading edge insights, and making sure that we provide the tools to match their talent to do so, because we know they're going to bring them directly into the classroom to benefit our students. And then lastly, a focus on community engagement. One of the great things about TCU is not just our campus and not just our faculty and students and alumni. It's the fact that we sit in Fort Worth, Texas, the fastest growing major city in the country and the fastest growing major metro in the country. And I think higher education, and we've seen this in recent years, we're going to see a lot more of it in future years and decades, has to operate at the intersection, right, of the academy and their community, whether that's economic development, whether that's government relations, whether that's nonprofit, connectivity with civic leaders, not only because it's the right thing to do to make sure that the community in which you employ a workforce is flourishing, but think of the educational opportunities we can provide our students: service learning, experiential learning, seeing theory turned into practice to the betterment of humanity. We have that opportunity because we're in Fort Worth, Texas, that many, many universities don't. So I think if we get this right strategically, and I think we will, if we grow the right way, right, if we maintain our competitiveness in athletics, if we continue to invest in the core academic quality of this institution, and we do it together with our community, we can't lose.
You took kind of the words out of my mouth, because I had a meeting with Jerry Jones, and he was telling me, he says, there's never been a better time to live here in Dallas-Fort Worth. Everything that is coming, and he was just obviously sports and the World Cup coming in 26, but he just spoke about just in general and just where you spoke there. And Chancellor, this is a goldmine opportunity for students not to just come here, but everything that's around it. Everything about the medical school and just what you have right there in downtown Fort Worth. This is an amazing opportunity that when you talk about not just 4-year experience of what can be for 30, 40, 50 years for people of what's growing right here.
Oh, exactly. And a big hope of ours is all these great minds that he's talking about that we're producing that get a degree. Many of them will stay in the Metroplex and in the state. And that helps everything about our economy.
It's tremendous here. Okay, so Chancellor Boschini, we discussed the connectivity in the community and its defining traits of TCU. I want to ask you to end your thoughts on the roles of values at TCU and why they matter.
Well, you mentioned it at the beginning that Addison and Randolph Clark had certain values they espoused, and I think those values are still present on the campus. You know, a value of hard work, a value of honest representation, also a value of actual representation. Because Disciples of Christ are the group that are the foundational footprint of TCU. And if there were models for religions, I would say the model for that religion is there's room at the table for everybody. And I think that spirit is still involved today at TCU. You have students who have great ideas. They pull them forward and they make them happen. That's also a very entrepreneurial campus, like he said, and I've never seen a place like that before as much as TCU, and I think all that plays in together. We just did a whole one-year study of our values with students, faculty, staff, trustees, alums, and we reaffirmed some and we deleted some.
I remember getting the questionnaire
Right.
when I was a student on that very subject there.
Yeah. And just, I mean, again, just on that point, whether it's we're redefining or affirming our values, whether it's we're thinking about the future built environment of the campus, whether it's our forthcoming strategic planning efforts, right? You go far when you go together, and anything that's worth doing, it's worth bringing people with you. And if you do that, then everybody owns it, and I think everybody is a stakeholder in TCU's future.
Got a couple questions I want to squeeze in here. We're doing great on time. Well, we're getting close on time, but still, I want to make sure we get this in here. They want to know. I'll start with you, Chancellor Boschini. What has been your favorite moment at TCU?
Oh my gosh, so many. I would say the times when we had ESPN Game Day on campus, those are always my favorite local moments. Those are just incredible. The Rose Bowl, the College World Series, I mean, you name it. There's too many to even mention. But my favorite thing that ever happens at TCU, and every year it tops the year before, is the Christmas tree lighting. Yeah. It's just, I mean, when I was first here 21 years ago, they had, hundreds of people show up. Now we have literally 10,000 people will show up for that. It's just incredible.
President Pullin, what's been the biggest challenge for you since you've been at TCU?
Oh, good question.
I think it's time. It's being really deliberate about who and when and where you invest your time. I'm really so blessed in my career that I'm kind of to a point where that's the most important variable for me is, okay, where can I invest my time and my energy to make the most significant impact on as many people as possible? And if I just use that as my single variable in my personal rubric, then I can stay to the task and hopefully continue to contribute more than I take.
All right, last one here for both of you. What is the most exciting thing ahead for TCU?
The medical school.
Winning a college football national championship.
I like both of those.
Me too.
I like both of those. I definitely want to say this, and it's a selfish thing. Thank you. You changed my life. I was at a tough point when I didn't know what I was going to do with this whole TV thing. Neely School gave me the tools that I needed to give me a confidence that has made my job better. It's made me, I just say confidence it can't tell you how much the toolkit to move on and see things in a different light. You led the university there, the Neely School. You're leading it now as the president, and I will never be able to thank you for what you did.
Oh, wow.
And while you weren't there, the hug we shared on stage when I got my degree, I framed it in my office and I keep it there.
I love that. I love that.
I tell people I should have done 10 years earlier, but your leadership and where you're taking it, I'm so happy for you that other people are going to be able to experience what I experienced and have a life-changing moment. And so it's been very cool for you guys to have me back here. I got this purple jacket.
And I love it.
Because I want to always remember my experience. because this is a beautiful campus, it's a beautiful place, and you're both fantastic gentlemen. And for the people out there watching this, we got two good leaders that are at this university. So I want to make sure, Chancellor Boschini, thank you. President Pullin, thank you. Thanks to TCU Magazine, TCU's Alumni Association, the Office of Communication for setting this conversation. Marianne, thank you so much. You've been outstanding. I've so enjoyed working with you. Thank you for joining us. Keep the date on everything that is happening at TCU and amongst your Horned Frog family here at TCU Magazine. And once again, magazine at tcu.edu. Make sure you're always checking it out to see the latest.
Let's do one more thing while we're on camera. Everybody put your feet on this table. Look, this tells you a lot about people. Boots, purple shoes, black shoes. This is great.
There's a place for everyone
That's
here at
right.
TCU.
That's right.
Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.